Hello, our users. My name's John Kulas. I was just playing with settings here in StreamYard, and I'm such a boomer. I think I need to do a little more preparation on the settings here in StreamYard. Anyway, my name's John Kulas. I'm a 20-year professor of industrial and organizational psychology, the best kind of psychology. About 11-year user of R for normal, boring statistical and analytical operations. But for the majority of time, those 12 years now, 11, 12 years, I think I started in 2014. But for the majority of the time, I've been also crafting entire projects, papers, reports, websites, slides within the same environment that I specify my R analyses. And so generally, this kind of way of structuring your work is referred to as engaging in a process called literate programming. That doesn't really seem to resonate with psychologists, so I refer to it as single platform project execution. So every week I hang out, and occasionally some people stop by and hang out with me, and we're just here to promote this way of structuring your work. If you're doing data science kinds of things, and you're using R or Python, or the two primary popular languages to do data sciencey kinds of things. If you're doing that, then why not do the whole project from within the same environment? You don't need no stinking Microsoft Word. You don't need PowerPoint. You can do it all here. And the way to do it right now, the tools that we have are so accessible. It's just it's time. It's time for people to move over to this way of structuring your work. So don't think about R as an analytical only platform. Think about it as an opportunity or a tool that you use to specify your analyses, but you're going to write and craft and create the entire project from within the same environment. So we're here promoting this way of structuring work. Every week, Tuesday at 7 o'clock, I hang out for roughly an hour. We use this metaphor of an academic office hour. The people that do stop by, they were all former students of mine. And we met in university environments, and so I kind of like having this metaphor of an open office hour, and it reminds me to probably try to keep the timing of it to roughly an hour, which I'm not great at doing, but I try to keep it to roughly an hour, not too much over that. And in the absence of people popping by and asking questions about how do I do something, well, which is kind of why we're doing this live and interactive. I want to be a resource if people do have questions. But in the absence of people asking questions, we've been checking out just kind of focused features. And tonight's going to be a lot of fun because tonight we're going to revisit something that we did last year, and that is create holiday cards using R. Um, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. So I'm having fun with that. The reason it doesn't say holiday cards in the title slide here or in the slide we're looking at is because we're also following this convention of kind of climbing the alphabet. So starting from A, B, C, we're up to N right now, and I had to just get a little creative with conforming to this very strict rule that I set for myself, I guess. So that's why it's labeled Noel and Navidad. I believe those mean Christmas in French and in Spanish. At least they reference Christmas, or people think of Christmas when they see those words. I'm going to leave this on for a few more weeks now, this resource, just because I think it's so fantastic and there's space on the slides. So I'll go ahead and leave that Quarto resource. I guess I'll hit it one more time, but it is very consistent with these weekly sessions, the philosophy of these weekly sessions, and just kind of trying to offer people as much help and assistance as they might want or need in terms of getting started. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. In terms of getting started with this process. There's also in the comments, there's a link to a video that we put together a few months ago that hopefully helps people get started. If you're coming into this and it looks like we're intermediate level, or heaven forbid, even more advanced than that, we're not. But if it seems like we are, you should be able to get your feet kind of moving, get your legs under you by referencing that get started video. And I'm always available for questions. If you don't have a question during the session and you just want to drop me a note, you can leave that in the comments and I'll try to address it on next Tuesday, I guess. All right. So because we explore these topics, explore in an exploratory manner, I try at the beginning of each Tuesday to do a recap in a more linear fashion that's a little more conducive to learning of what happened last week. But we got to do a cartoon transition because we can't just get into it like that. So what happened last week, Mr. Bullwinkle J. Moose?
Well, in a last-ditch effort to stop the monstrous mechanical metal-munching moon mice, our heroes put an ad in the paper.
Wanted, high-class Pied Piper to get rid of monstrous mechanical metal-munching moon mice.
Name your own price.
The ad got results sooner than they expected.
Rough and let's chase him off at your service.
The Piper looked a lot like Boris Badenov, but as usual, our trusting friends failed to suspect a thing.
Please, the world needs trusting people.
It does?
Otherwise, who could us villains cheat?
Boris blew a few smoke rings to prove he was a real Piper, but Gidney the Moon Man still wanted to know.
How good are you at getting rid of rats?
Please, read motto.
Rats a specialty. It takes one to know one.
Okay, Mr. Chase-em-off, we'll give you $1 for every moon mouse you pipe away from here.
Boris Badenov's alias names are kind of like James Bond villains and like his 1960s girlfriend names. They always had a little kind of innuendo to them. And so Boris, I guess, does that as well. So last week we looked at Markdown, again, consistent with this A, B, C, D, E, all the way up to M. We decided to look at Markdown, and Markdown is one way of formatting information. We use it frequently using these literate programming principles when we're crafting, when we're trying to create a product that is going to be rendered as an HTML product type. The slides that you're looking at are an HTML product type. The way that we specify formatting is through using Markdown, and there's a bunch of different flavors of Markdown. This iframe should be fully operational, and so one of the things we did last week was we just kind of played with it a little bit. You can see live in the right-hand panel what's happening if you do a third level heading, fourth level heading, first level heading, how you specify things like bold and italics. Oops, it's not scrolling with me, is it? And there's a link to the full site here as well if you don't want to work with this little tiny frame. My friends are just getting to the point now where we're aging out of small things. So everyone's complaining when there's small fonts and things like that. Everyone's eyes are starting to go. But you can see how you do bullets and numbered bullets and numbered lists and images, all sorts of different things. You can play with this. The original specification of Markdown was given by a guy by the name of John Gruber, and I have a link there to he calls this a dingus, which we used to use that word dingus as well, but it never meant anything useful. A dingus is what you might call your younger brother if he does something that annoys you. But similar thing, you can kind of, in Gruber's site, you can see not only what the Markdown looks like in terms of the rendering, but you can actually get a sense of what the resulting HTML code will be as well. And again, this is why Markdown is created, so we don't have to look at this kind of heavily marked up language with tags on them. And then here's what it looks like as it would be rendered on something like a web page. Again, we didn't spend a lot of time on this, but he's the guy who came up with it, so we should give it we should actually give it some acknowledgement. There's many different, there are quite a few different Markdown editors out there that you can play with, and the one that I have linked to I just thought was pretty slick, but you don't need to use it. But it's a good way to learn what typing does to the look of the thing that you're trying to create, and that's really what Markdown is it's plain text editing, plain text indications of how you want the format to look. Now, the other thing we looked at last week was I mentioned that I've been using the data science scripting environments as Markdown interpreters from AI. So when I do a query on AI, the only two that I frequently use are Grok, which is the Twitter or X one, and I use GitHub Copilot as well through GitHub. And so both of those, if you want to save the suggestions that you're getting from AI, what AI gives you is it gives you Markdown. And so I can't believe that a lot of people do this, but I do it, and I think it's kind of fun, and it is another reason to use some of these what are called IDEs or platform scripting environments that I don't use all that frequently. My kind of go-to one, the one that I use on a daily basis, is RStudio. I know a lot of you are doing that as well. We've played with JupyterLab over the course of the last month or two, and I had a lot of fun with JupyterLab. Positron is the new environment that the same company that gave us RStudio is supporting, and I think it's VS Code, but it's VS Code for data science, and it's just kind of overwhelming. So I have not been able to. Embrace Positron. We'll come back to that in a little bit here. But all of these, so JupyterLab, RStudio, and Positron, they all have Markdown file types, and so you can just take what an AI is giving you for a suggestion, copy it, and paste it into JupyterLab, RStudio, or Positron, and render that information as however you'd like to see it. Now, these all have really good previews. We'll get to this final column in a second here. So you get a very good preview of what the content is going to look like across all three platforms. You do not, across all three platforms, get the clipboard activated. And so by clipboard, what I'm talking about is when we ask for recommendations from AI, and the recommendations include code, the code specifications, there's a kind of shortcut, a very neat shortcut that we get within Quarto render documents, and that's having a clipboard enabled. And the clipboard literally is a very easy way to interact with that information and to get a copy of the code itself. All three, JupyterLab, JupyterLab, RStudio, and Positron, all three environments, just using their Markdown file types, did not have that clipboard enabled. However, we can use Quarto, this software that we're using to help facilitate how we craft things. We can use Quarto in JupyterLab. We can use it in RStudio. You can use it in Positron. So the reason that Quarto has 3 checks next to it is because first of all, previews are possible. It is a wonderful, I think, user experience, and the clipboard is the big thing. So clipboard's being enabled when you paste your Markdown from AI into a QMD or a Quarto Markdown document. That's kind of a game changer. So I'm going to start doing that with regularity. In terms of what we rated, I didn't really go through this explicitly last week, but the clipboard is really the thing that I noticed that was a difference across these different approaches that we took. And then I decided to give a user experience rating as well. And really what I was trying to do there is I was trying to communicate why I only gave Positron 1 Santa and I gave JupyterLab 3 Santas. And I am loving JupyterLab. I love the simplicity of JupyterLab. I love the minimalism of it. And the reason that I've really had struggles with Positron when I use it, and I think we're probably going to use it again in a couple of weeks, because as we're climbing the alphabet and we're now on the letter N, P is coming up really quickly. So I think when we get to the letter P, I'll probably revisit Positron and we'll do another review of that. But boy, the reason I don't like it is if it has 500 capabilities, which it probably does, the interface itself says, here's 500, take them, take 500. It's too much. It's too much. And contrasting Positron with JupyterLab specifically, boy, that contrast is really stark. It's really evident in terms of navigating those environments. That Jupyter Lab environment, it probably has the same number of functions and capabilities as Positron, but it's so much more intuitive. And again, it's probably personal preference, but it's so much more intuitive, easier to navigate the stuff that you want. You can go look for it. It's not thrown at you. Like Positron is just overwhelming. There's so much there. So I gave Jupyter Lab a little hit, and I gave Positron a little demerit, I guess, in terms of the Santa rating. Now, again, the extra caveat here is that the fourth column is not a good comparison to those first three. The first three are data science scripting environments, and the fourth one, Quarto, is the software that lies underneath these scripting environments, and it can be facilitated, enabled, and used within all three of these. So you can use, and we've done this on these weekly sessions. We've run Quarto documents through Jupyter Lab. We've run Quarto documents through RStudio, which is what I normally do. And we've also run Quarto documents through Positron. So I think for me going forward, what I'm going to do when I get suggestions from AI, and those suggestions include code bits, I'm definitely going to paste them, not anymore into Markdown cells or Markdown file types, but I'm going to paste them into a Quarto cell or a Quarto document, because that clipboard is there, and that clipboard is just so nice. It's so handy. And you can also control then at that point the format of how you want that information to be presented. Do you want an HTML file, which is probably the way that's slickest and the way that I normally would want to keep and reference the AI information? Okay, anyway, so enough on AI and Markdown. If you're curious about the workflow there, again, you can check out the end of last week's session, and we checked out, we did all that. So we looked at how taking AI suggestions and pasting them into all three of those environments, and also using Quarto, how the rendered documents ended up looking out of that. Okay, so today is going to be a lot of fun. So today we're going to make holiday cards. And there's a bunch of different ways to do this, and this is not exhaustive, of course. There are many other ways that you can do this using R, but we're going to talk about 4 or 5 different approaches. And I think what I'm going to do, so we're going to cover 4 approaches that don't require Quarto or R Markdown for that matter. These are just, you can do these straight from your R console. And then the last thing that we'll do is kind of recreate what I did last year. So this is the center image gives you a link to the card that I crafted last year. And I think what we'll do this year is I will script a new card, but it'll be kind of flavored like this. I'll script a new card, and I'm going to upload that script to the slide deck with the hopes that people might come across this and use it, so you can take it and alter it and make it look like your slide deck instead of being my slide deck, but I'll give you all the functionality. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to add another slide after this last slide, and it'll just be a script, and you'll have that clipboard enabled. And before we quit tonight, I'll show you how to do all that. But let's go ahead and look at some of these that don't require Quarto, don't require R Markdown. These are just base R capabilities. They're all facilitated by packages, and so let's go ahead and I guess I do want to leave the tonight's session information open, because I'm going to go in there and script some stuff for you. So let's actually see. I don't think we actually need a script for the first one, so I'm not going to open a script. I'm just going to take a look at the package information here. And so there's a package called Christmas, and Christmas has some built-in cards in it that you can actually use. There's some goofiness to this. the person who created it, I don't know. There's some weirdness in here, but I decided to go ahead and we can at least take a look at it. So I'm going to install the package Christmas. I already have it installed, but I'll go ahead and install it again. The way that I've been doing that most recently through RStudio is I use the packages tab here on the right hand lower pane, and it looks like that went fine. And now in order to access it, again, you can either and I'm just going to use the console. You can either do Christmas ::, and one of the reasons I sometimes do that if I'm not going to use a library or a package extensively, that is, I'm not going to use many functions out of it. I would never do this with something like ggplot because there's too much there's too much stuff there that I use. So I would always load that library explicitly. But if I'm only going to look for one or two things, that package : way of structuring is actually sometimes useful because you'll get some helper functions in there. And so it's going to autocomplete for me some capabilities here. And so out of the Christmas package, I look for Christmas tree. There you go. I can change. Let me see if I can keep that open. There's a different card every year. You can change the year in most of these if you want. So literally, if I just put 2025, we'll see if that works. Yeah, that works. There's a limited number of cards that are in here. When this person started, I think the intent was to every year do a new one. There's some animation in some of these as well. So this one has a little animation. But so there's one possibility. You could craft a holiday card using R if you're okay with these kind of predetermined things. Again, there is a little customization. You can have different languages, and the three languages are Spanish, English, and Catalan. I was actually once stranded in Spain, up a little northeast of Barcelona, and the people there were very proudly they only spoke Catalan. So the only other time I've seen Catalan referenced, other than being stranded, we had put gasoline in a diesel car. Not we. Someone put gasoline in a diesel car all over Spain. But other than that, the other time I see Catalan is in this package itself, when there's 3 different languages that you can actually specify. Okay, so there's one. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. If you're interested in taking a look at some of those pre-built cards, you can go ahead and do it. There's another option here, which is, I think this is just a function. So yeah, so this person just created a function. It's a little different. You don't usually see this in GitHub repositories. Now Diego, who sometimes shows up, he and I have a package that has a very specific function, and we probably could have, instead of creating a whole function, a whole package, we probably could have just written a function as this person did. So I should be able to copy this. I'm copying the function that this person wrote, and I should probably be able to paste that in the console. When it's that big, I don't like pasting that much information directly into the console. So I'm going to run it in a script. I'm going to hit Control A, which we don't typically do on these weekly sessions since we're working with things like reports and papers and websites. This is kind of fun because we get to do some R scripting here. Now that function should have shown up in my environment. There it is. My environment tab, it's chtree. It comes in as a function. If we look at, where'd it go? If we look at the repo, it should give us some instruction of how to use the function. It looks to me like you just call up chtree. I don't know why my internet's being kind of slow. Yeah, it's just chtree, and then we should get something that looks like this. So I'm going to do that in the console again. We don't need to specify any. There is no package on this. It's just it's literally just a function. It looks like it's taking a while here. So, do we have any taking a while music? Let's see. You know, the trainer cat is actually different. I didn't notice. I haven't noticed that. I hadn't noticed that before. But the trainer cat is actually different. They swapped them out. Um, so here's our Christmas tree. So that's kind of neat. So you can export that and save that and send that as well. This one has less of a R feel to it to me. It just looks great. It looks nice. You can do some modifications to this as well. I guess we can change the background color. Let's do that. You can get rid of the star. You can probably add some. Well, I know you can go into the function itself and add some functionality. We don't just want to stick with light blue. We'll do our channel color here of badass. Although that's not very nice, is it, for Christmas or for the Yule season? Probably shouldn't do badass. Let's do, it is taking a while. So I don't know, it must be a complex object in terms of what's being plotted. So instead of, oh, I'm sorry, it's taking a while because Kulas wasn't being careful here. I should have put the BG color within our function, not just alone by itself. I actually have a little desk thing that's kind of in my way. Whoa, that was not cool. Doesn't like badass. All right, I know it takes a little while, but let's. I used to be able to do a cornflower blue. Ah, look at that, it's still in there. And then we'll move on to the next package, not package. I don't believe it's a package. I guess we'll see. I think it's just a tutorial on using ggplot to create a snowman. So we have doves and trees and all kinds of stuff we could do in the Christmas package. We have just a tree itself with snow and balls, jingle balls, and a star on it. That's available in this function that this person wrote. And we also have, I'm gonna have to re-render slides because I lost them. We also have, what else do we have here? We also have this. Maybe in the interest of time, I won't go through all of this, but this Nicola Rennie, she's fantastic. She does a lot of stuff with visuals and with these products that we've been talking about, which are authoring products. And she's just creating a ggplot object and she's layering it. So by creating geomes or by creating little circles, little squares, things like that, she spools it up and layers it and eventually gets a snowman. And so you can go ahead and follow that if you want. The other thing that I wanted, before we get to what we're going to do, the other thing I wanted to acknowledge is that there's this really neat package I came across that's relevant for those plots that we just talked about. So those things that we just crafted and you can craft, but you would just be doing what other people have already done. You can actually mail those out as a postcard, and you mail those out through a postcard through using this G-Girl, or it looks like GG Girl or G Girl, but it actually stands for GG in real life. So IRL is supposed to be in real life. And so what this person has done is they've put together a package that takes your computer version of ggplots and it walks you through a process to actually mail them. And so if you load GG Girl, I'm just going to call it G Girl. So if you load G Girl, it doesn't sound right, does it? But if you do that, you can actually follow the scripting commands here and just swap out your name. Now, I thought this said fake Persephone. Persephone is kind of notorious for my students. I used to use that as a fake name all the time. But use your email, you can use your information. You do want a postal code because this is going to actually this is going to turn into a postcard. There's a message on the postcard that you can have as well, and then the command for the creating a postcard is just here, and it's from the Guaraldi package. This is what it actually ends up looking like, and it'll take you to a pay portal. It's $2.50 for each one. I can't verify the security of that. I haven't gone through it, but it's pretty neat. So this is very, very neat. So I this is something that this is something that I hope somebody uses. The plot itself, in terms of what you want to send, it's referenced here as the first argument within this GG postcard function. So you just, whatever you call the plot, you just repeat it here. And that's the one component that isn't specified here. Okay, so all kinds of neat ways that we can actually craft holiday cards using R. Now, none of that stuff uses Quarto, as I said. None of it uses R Markdown. That's just mostly base R, other than the Guaraldi pack. Oh, I guess the Christmas package as well. So packages and base R. There's functionality there where you can craft a holiday card. Now, I'm going to say Christmas probably because I'm Christian and I'm going to be making a Christmas card. But what I would like to do tonight is I would like to replicate what we've done here. And I'm going to do that in a brand new file and a brand new script. And I'm going to share that with you so you can script along if you'd like, or you can just wait and copy once I post that. And I'm going to post it here in a half hour once we make our card. So let's get to it. So I'm going to create a new Quarto presentation. So this is the way that I crafted it last time. Title we'll come back to. All I want is the RevealJS shell. Now, what we're going to do so that you can actually take this and customize it to your little heart's content is I'm going to do the formatting specification within a chunk here. In that chunk, I'm actually going to, this isn't how I normally would do this, but I'm going to do it so everything's in one space. So what I want to do is I want to actually create a chunk. It's not going to be R though, it's going to be CSS or sassy CSS. And first thing I'm going to do is load in some, oh, I violated my own rule here, didn't I? So usually I render these. I don't know that I want to put it, I guess I can. Now, you're going to want to be careful when you do this. You're going to want to be careful what you call it, because what you call it, if you follow my recommendations through to the end, what you're going to call it is going to be the URL that you see when people access this. So the way we're doing this, this is going to be a link. So you're going to send people to the link, and this is going to be, you know, I think it's okay. I have professor friends who do this with me. That's how they send their Christmas cards or holiday cards, is they'll get a link and then I'll see them. And that's kind of how I got this idea, actually, was from that. Now, we're going to want fonts. I'm going to take the font specification that I use that's helpful. And I'm also going to, now some of these sassy CSS scripts are a little wonky in terms of the mandatory information. And so it may or may not be necessary to have this note up here. Now the / asterisk / that you're seeing, that's the convention that's used with sassy CSS for commenting. It's the commenting convention. And so that may or may not be important. In order to access this font, I'm going to write a little CSS, and again, this is something that you can change on your own if you want. I'm going to use font family, and I'm just going to repeat the name of the font that I'm loading in here, and I'm going to walk you through what this means in just a second. I just want to see if this actually works. Let's give this a color as well. I guess we can do badass. You know, bad looks kind of nice. That kind of lilac color, I kind of like that. And let's just apply it to the title of our first slide here. So square bracket, curly bracket is how you apply it. And then adjacent to it, you give the name that you've specified for the CSS code that you've created here. So we'll render that and then take a look and see if Quarto, the title for the first slide, comes up in our font, and it does. Now, one thing that happened, and this happens when we do CSS chunks within these RevealJS slides, is it added a empty slide. And the reason, I'm not sure the reason why it does that, but I know how to get around that. So instead of putting it before my first slide, I'm going to put it after or within my first slide. It shouldn't matter where we put this code chunk. It should still render fine. Yeah, and so now I don't have that empty slide, so we're making progress. The way that you find these fonts, or the way that I find fonts, is I go to Google Fonts, and we just find one that we like. There are filters here. You can do, you can do a time of year kind of filter. So there's a seasonal, I believe, filter on here. Here we go. Christmas, Hanukkah. Oh, I can only do one. I can only do one. I guess I'll do Christmas. That's not. How is that Christmas? That looks like, that looks like the nightmare before Christmas is what that looks like. This is the one that I think I used for this week's slides, Berkshire Swash. So let's go ahead, and you can, whatever one you want, you can take and you can just swap it out for what I have here. So the Berkshire Swash. Oh my goodness, that's not easy to say. I'm gonna look for a color of green that's consistent with kind of Christmassy kind of stuff. I kind of like this one. OD. What the heck is that? 0DAC. I can't read that. I told you, old people eyes. I got old people eyes now. ODAC50. Let's try that. You know, I like to stay consistent with the naming convention of the CSS commands that I make, so I'm probably going to call this Swash. And then we'll have to change this to Swash. Let's see if that works. Now yeah, that actually looks okay, doesn't it? The font that I used last year is called Ballet, and so maybe we'll load Ballet as well, because Ballet is kind of nice. I'll show you Ballet here. It doesn't look very Christmassy, but if you blow it up and just kind of focus on the first capital letter, then it can look a little Christmassy. Maybe for tonight we'll just stick with this, I guess. One thing I want to do is I want to enable the mouse wheel, because my navigation, it's slicker with that mouse wheel enabled. So I'm going to try that, and this will again be as part of the script that you can take and copy. So your slide will also have the mouse wheel enabled. Now it's a little easier. Now the message I'm going to put in the title. So I'm going to put Merry Christmas, and I'm going to wrap that in my Swash. And so the first slide now should actually say Merry Christmas on it. Here we go. It doesn't look very festive yet. Quarto, we're going to get rid of Quarto. We don't need that. This should be a message. Or we can just say, and a happy. And the way I'm thinking about structuring this is you're going to have a landing page, which is a nice image and a nice message on it. And then you'll have a second page with an with a picture on it. You can put a picture of you, and we'll also have some text on it saying what happened this year, and what major events happened, and all the good stuff that you're proud of. Now, we only want one of those, so I'm going to get rid of the rest of this. It doesn't look all that exciting, so I'm going to add a background like what we have on this week's slides. I really liked the image that I found for this week's slides, and so I'm going to see if we can actually go ahead and just repeat that. And again, this is something that you can, oh, you know what? It's right here. I can just take it. This is something that you can take and amend to whatever image you're interested in repeating. Now, sometimes the CSS, we'll see if we can put it in the same chunk here. We should be able to, but sometimes it doesn't work as good as it should. So what I did there was I added a background image to the second slide, and it's giving me this Python error. So I'm going to override that. Definitely didn't like that. So we're going to try to stack, see if we can stack curly brackets. Oh, the other thing what is it doing? Value of knitter. That's, what am I? Engine, I want engine, I'm sorry. That was user error. So we'll go back and we'll see if maybe I just wasn't picking up. I'm not seeing my background image, so we'll try that, like I said, in a separate curly bracket. There it is. So I've kind of like this already, what it looks like. Now, you can play, if you're doing this, if you're kind of following along, you can certainly swap out this image for anything you like. I kind of like what I found here with this big space in the middle that we could put text in. And then this background opacity, I'm going to leave it in because it's a nice, it's a very nice function to help you kind of make the text pop or hide it a little bit. So it ranges from 0 to 1. So if you want the look to be very bold, you can just move that closer to 1. If you want it to be very washed out, you move that background opacity closer to 0. And you see there with 0.1, it's almost not visible. I'm going to leave it at 0.5 for mine. I do want to play a little bit with this location of Merry Christmas, because depending on the image that we put in there, we might want to play with that. So in my sassy CSS, I am going to specify a command that I was just playing with this, and it was one that I don't use frequently because I'm still learning sassy CSS, but this pound convention is something that is kind of important in terms of controlling what the title slide itself looks like. So there should be a few different possible values here. I'm going to make a note and then put some of those values in there. You should be able to change it from center, left, or right. We can also go up or down, but I think for our purposes that should be sufficient. So now I have, and a Happy New Year, and people that got this, people who might get this from me would not be all that surprised to see the content of my message be about Quarto, but we're not going to do that. So center, let's make sure this works for you. I'm going to change center to a different value. We'll see if it does anything. Yeah, that's what it does. Okay, so center, left, and right. You can change those if you like. I'm going to put it back to center, and then let's look for an image. So I'm going to look for an image or a GIF maybe to put on the front page. So it always goes to this aerial image that I used when we were talking about mermaid graphs. Christmas, maybe? We'll see if we find something that's... These are all going to be goofy, aren't they? I should have... Oh, I like Snoopy. Maybe motion is not what we want. Christmas scene, here we go. We'll look for something nice here. Choose the image that you want, I guess, for your front page. I kind of like cartoony kind of things. I know if you've been watching, that's not a big surprise. Here's kind of a nice one. We could use this for a background as well, I suppose. I'm just going to copy that address. And then in my YAML specification here, let me see how we did it. Let's see how we do it normally. I have a data slide attributes, data background image, and then I have background image opacity as well. That is something you might want. So I'm going to put that in this slide as well. That's funny, it's not, I would have thought that that would go within the format, but I guess it doesn't. And I'm going to uncomment the opacity. Again, that's something that's important to play with as we're trying to make text either look more prominent or a little less prominent. This looks too serious. I don't know if I like this image or not. And it's coming from Imager, so that might not look like great. Now this definitely, I'm going to want to move that Merry Christmas to the left, so let's go ahead and do that. And you know, I don't know that I'm not hugely fond of that font right now. One thing we can do is we can decorate the font a little bit. So I think let's do that. Now the way that I typically do that is through adding text shadow. And so again, this is something that you can take and change. The commands here for text shadow is horizontal, vertical, and then blur. So horizontal, vertical, blur. It might be vertical, horizontal, and blur, but if you want to do a negative, negative just goes the opposite direction. You know, one of the things about these code specifications is I'm looking for green hex again. One thing about these code specifications is most of them can take negative values, and those negative values tend... Yuck. What is that? I thought it was the Grinch. How do I end up here looking for green hex codes? Odd. Very odd. So I'm going to look for a kind of dark green. Hunter green looks pretty good, in order to kind of make my Berkshire / Merry Christmas pop a little bit. And so this should give it some shading on both ends of it. 4 is kind of big, so I'm going to put that down a little bit. And again, this is once I share this is code that you can go ahead and take and repurpose however you feel you would like to. There, it just gives it a little more outline, so I kind of like that better. If we wanted to have something on a kind of like a subtitle, we can do that. Easiest way to do that is probably just to add author, because author is already built in. 2026. Yeesh. Let's see what that looks like. Not ready for 2026. I kind of like that. We should give that a different font as well. It's kind of funny where it's printing it. So we could move that in terms of alignment as well, but I don't mind that. I don't hate that. So I like that dancing script. I think it's kind of classy. So I'm gonna go back there. And again, normally this is something that you wouldn't know the font off the top of your head. You would just look on Google Fonts and find something that you think you kind of like. I'm gonna change that to dancing script. And the color, I don't mind black actually. I thought black looked kind of good on that. We'll see if white probably doesn't show up given the background that we currently have. I can change this to dance. And then, so there's a couple other things I wouldn't mind doing, but let's blow that up a little bit, right? It's a little small. So I'm going to blow it up as well. We should be able to do font size, I think. Let me look and see how I do this. How I have done this before. It is font size. Font size. Now, you can do this in all kinds of different units. I've really enjoyed using the EM specification. That's just kind of it's a multiplication, so it's a magnifying. So how many times do you want to magnify that? That's obviously too big. So let's try 3M. 3M, hey, 3M hires industrial and organizational psychologists. If there's any of you in my discipline that are looking for jobs, that's still way too big. What's going on? Oh, I thought I changed it. Talking and scripting is not, it's kind of a difficult endeavor. I've come to learn over the course of these several different kind of sessions that we have. So I think I don't mind that in terms of the placement. I think I would like that to be, I know black's not very Christmassy, but, and I'm not sure if we can do non-integers for enlargement magnification, but we'll see. There, that doesn't look bad at all. Now for the second page, we're going to say all the cool stuff we did. We already say, we don't want to say a Happy New Year. Wonderful 2026. Happy New Year. Is that different enough? Let's say, what a year, we'll say. It really wasn't. I didn't do that much. So we'll change it to what a year, and then we'll talk about all the cool stuff that we did this year. I slayed many mooses. Although if we do mooses, we gotta have the umlauts on the O's. So Unicode. I'm looking for, I don't know, not to be totally Monty Python-ish, but I'm looking for something like this. Now these Unicode characters, you used to have to know the Unicode codes and put those in our Markdown. Now these more recent versions, they'll recognize this, so it should display as whatever the heck those things are. This year I slayed many mooses. I just want to get some lorem ipsum kind of text in here. I kind of lost count. None of them were related to Bullwinkle, J, Moose. No, I shouldn't have done that because every time I say moose, I'm going to have to do those umlauts. None of them are related to Bullwinkle, J, Moose, at least as far
as I am aware. Now, the reason I'm doing this lorem ipsum text is I want to actually, for those of you that might want to issue cards like this, I want to give myself some opportunity to wrap an image. And so I want to wrap the image. There's a couple different ways to do that, but it would be nicest if this would flow somewhat. So I'm going to try to do a floating image. And floating image specification, I think I just did that as well. So let me pull up. I'm stealing this from other projects where I've done something similar. I thought maybe I did it here. I guess not. And so I'm going to pull up, I think, my website. So my website, one of the websites that I've been working on recently using Quarto, I wanted to be careful about image specification. So I did kind of a little different way of structuring images than how I normally do it. Where the heck is my website? What did I call that thing? Oh, I think it's called Vibe. I think this is it. So let's see if I have a specification in here. So I'm not seeing what I was hoping to see. Oh, we already did that one. This has to be riveting watching me going through my files and trying to find a specification. I'm looking for a fence is what I'm looking for. And it's kind of a slick way to structure this. And so that's why we could probably do this as well. So this isn't what I wanted, but this should work. I think it has, yeah, it has enough in there for you to take and customize. And the image should be able to actually do this as a fence as well. So maybe we'll see. So we'll see what this actually looks like. I'm going to put an image in of you and the family. So family picture. We'll see what we get off of this. Here's me and my family. Wait, I kind of like this one. That's an outdoorsy one. And of course you can take an image from wherever. If you're doing this, if you're repeating what I'm doing, you probably want to do this as a project folder. Do this all within a project folder, and then you can keep your image within that project folder. There we go. And so, you can change the size of that if you want. There's this width specification. I'm going to bump that down a little bit. The padding on it tells you how close the text gets. So this 1M, you can go ahead and if you bumped that, then this text would get a little bit closer. Let's put some more text in there. My family was very disappointed in all of the moose carnage. Again, don't ask me why I started on this path. I don't know. There were antlers everywhere. It was Mooseageddon. My brain, I don't know where this stuff comes from, honestly. But there's a nice Christmas message. And there you see the image that's wrapped. That's really what I was going for. Okay, so here's my Christmas card. And again, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put... Is there any possibility that anyone out there is going to take this and try to do their own Christmas card? I hope there is. If you do, share it with me, please. I'd love to see it. I'll publish mine as well. I might clean it up just a little bit, But in terms of publishing, if you're in RStudio, you want to just use this publish button, and that'll walk you through steps, and then you can share it, and then you can share that code with people like me. I would love to see it if you create a card. Okay, so I'm going to copy this entire script that works, and I'm going to put it in this week's slides. So at the very end of this week's slides, I'm going to make one more slide, and we'll call it card code, I guess. And it is a R chunk. And I want to do a echo fenced. And I'm also going to have to do, I think I think I can do an eval false in the YAML. I think I might have yeah, I have an eval false in the YAML already. So we'll see if this works. If it does work, I'll publish it, and then you can take it and copy it, and you should be able to replicate what I've done there, because the way I structured it, it's all self-contained within that card code. There it is. And so here's the clipboard that I was talking about that's nice within the QMD. So all you need to do is copy this and go into R and open up a new Quarto presentation. It doesn't even need to be that. It can be any. It literally can be any type of file that you open up, and then go ahead and paste this in. Now, one thing, I guess, no, we don't want fenced because you don't want the chunk. So I'm going to take. You don't want the code chunk. So we actually don't want fenced. We just want true. And I think that should give you everything that you need. So at the very end of this week's slide deck, after the R session info, there is this clipboard that you can access. Go into R, open up a new file, and I'll just open up a text file this time. You can put it in whatever you want. Go ahead and paste it. Now, when you save it, you're going to want to save it as a presentation. So maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do. Go ahead, new file, Quarto document or Quarto presentation. We're going to override it anyway. Go ahead, Control A or Command A if you're in a Apple. Hit paste, and there you go. So you have the exact same script that you can render as long as you have Quarto on your machine. And it will make this silly card that you can take and customize to however you would like to, with your own fonts, with your own messages, with your own pictures. And I think just kind of a title and then a slide that says kind of what we did this year is fine in terms of information. So I could spend some time and continue on the moose story a little more elaborately and publish it. But I think I might actually want to spend a little more time on that, because I'll go ahead and share that with people. Oh, the snowflakes. We didn't talk about snowflakes. Snowflakes is another something that you can do if you would like. I'll share that quickly before we end here tonight. I just have to make sure that I'm publishing my title slide image, because I had to do a little alteration to that this week in order to get it to look like I want to. Okay, so now if you refresh, if you're on this week's slides, if you refresh, the very last slide should be, there you go, it should be code. And again, go ahead and take that code, copy it, and paste it into a Quarto file, and you can have the basis for your own holiday card. Wonderful. Okay, so the snow is actually something that, again, if you want to include the snow, you're going to want to do that through a project folder. That's the easiest way to do it. Maybe I should put a link on there as well. I'll put a link in the comments here. How about that? So I just put a link to the GitHub repo that enables the snow effect that are on this week's slides. And that's just an extension to these Quarto slides. And so you do that by following at the terminal. So maybe I'll go over it next week. If anyone wants to do that and you have questions, let me know and we can do that next week. In your YAML, you just add this filter. I'll just do it quickly here because I already have. Oops, because I already have the snow extension loaded within this project folder, so it should work fine for me. So I'm going to go ahead and copy, again, clipboard. Clipboard's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And at the very bottom of my YAML, I'm just going to put filters snow. If I re-render my Christmas card now, and again, it's a little something, but if you're going ahead and if you're doing this electronically anyway, it's a nice little feature. So it's something that you might want to enable on your Christmas card if you're going to send it holiday card. If you're going to send it electronically, it's nice. I mean, it's kind of ruining this family's nice summer day in the middle of a field that this unexpected snowstorm came, and then all these moose charged in and killed them all. Is anyone still there? I don't know. It's been a long day. Okay. Thanks, people. I hope somebody, if you do a holiday card, please let me know. Show up next week and share it. And if you have any questions about how to publish, if you run into obstacles going through this kind of wizard that you'll get walked through with the publish button, let me know and I can help with that as well. Okay. But this is fun. So I'll share with you what mine ended up looking like next week, and any sort of formatting alterations that I do in the interceding week, I'll make sure to also address that and let you know about that. Okay. Good night, everybody. See you next week.